When you think about how big national policies get made, you probably picture them starting at the top and trickling down, right? But what if a single local group could actually write the blueprint for the entire country on a huge issue? Well, that's exactly what's happening right now with a new proposal on immigrant rights. And we're going to break down how this local idea could go all the way to the top.
So that's the big question here. How does a local idea actually climb that ladder and become national policy? We're going to dive into a really fascinating case study from the League of Women Voters Washington chapter to see the exact playbook they're using to make it happen.
Okay, so it all starts here, with a pretty bold proposal on immigrant rights from the League of Women Voters of Washington. They've spent years really digging in and creating a detailed position on how to protect immigrants who are already living here. And their goal? It's ambitious. They want to make their local policy the official stance for the entire national organization.
And they have a specific way to do it, a process called concurrence. It's a really interesting mechanism that can kind of fast-track a local idea to the national level. We'll get into exactly how that works in just a bit.
Now, here's what's really smart about their approach. This isn't some big revolution. It's more of an evolution. They're not trying to tear down and replace the League's existing immigration policy. Instead, they found what they see as a really critical gap, and they're proposing to build a brand new, vital piece right alongside the old one. And this really shows you what that gap looks like. See, on the left, you've got the current national policy. It's all about the journey to the U.S., the rules of entry. But the Washington proposal on the right, it shifts the focus completely. It asks, okay, once someone is here, what does a life of dignity and safety actually look like? It's all about life within the United States.
Here's a great way to think about it. The current national policy is basically the front door to the country. It deals with who gets to come in and how. The new proposal from Washington is the blueprint for the House itself. It lays out the plan for how everyone can live together with dignity and respect once they're already inside.
Okay, so that's the big idea. But what's actually in this blueprint? Let's dive into the 7 core proposals that really make up the heart of this new policy.
It's all built on 7 key pillars. And here they are. You can see just how comprehensive this is. It starts at the very top with leadership, condemning anti-immigrant rhetoric. Then it gets into concrete government action, like making sure people have access to legal help and essential services. And it even gets down to the foundations of a stable life, like guaranteeing labor rights and pushing for timely work permits. It really does cover the whole experience of living in the U.S.
So the blueprint is definitely clear. But a plan is just a plan until you put it into action, right? So how does an idea like this actually navigate the internal workings of a huge national organization to become official policy? Well, that brings us to the path to adoption.
And the key is that word we heard earlier, concurrence. Think of it as the League's procedural shortcut. Instead of launching a brand new, probably years-long national study from scratch, the national organization can look at a thorough study that's already been done by a state or local chapter and just agree with it, or concur. It's a much faster, more efficient way to adopt new, well-researched policies.
And what's really cool is that this isn't just some top-down decision. The path forward is a call to action for hundreds of other chapters across the country. It's a clear 3-step process. First, learn about it by reading the report. Second, show your support through a survey. And third, the democratic finale, a final vote at the National Convention. It's a perfect example of how you build grassroots momentum.
Which brings us to the most important question of all. So what? What happens if this thing actually passes? What does this new policy really unlock for the organization, and more importantly, for the people it's trying to protect?
Well, the impact would be immediate, and it would be widespread. If this gets adopted, it's like flipping a switch. Suddenly, all 50 state leagues and more than 750 local chapters get the green light. It hands them a unified official mandate to start advocating for these specific protections at every single level of government, from their local city hall all the way to Capitol Hill.
And this quote from their own materials really gets to the heart of why they're doing this. It says, ensuring that immigrants, alongside other residents in the U.S., benefit from these important rights is at the core of LWVUS's mandate. So for them, this isn't some side issue. It's a fundamental expression of their entire mission.
And in the end, this whole story, it's about more than just this one policy proposal. It really pushes us to ask a bigger question about how our society works. What is the real role of civic groups in shaping policy? And how should they advocate for rules that affect all the people who live here, not just the ones who can vote?